Welcoming Mark Golding, Leader of the Opposition, President of the PNP. Mark, morning.
Morning, Ronnie.
Yes,
morning.
we're giving you a dispensation to take off the mask.
Thank you, my brother.
But example is set. The man wears his mask to come to this event, and that is what we are called upon to do.
Yeah. We're still in Jamaica. We're still grappling with this pandemic in a major way, as you know. Our vaccination levels are second to worst in the region, and not even yet 14% of the population vaccinated. Latest number was 13.4%.
Why is that, Mark?
Well, I think it's a combination of factors, Ronnie. Yeah. I think that the manner in which it has been managed, I think, has not inspired confidence. So I think that the government has attempted to do too much in too centralized a way and lead the charge themselves. And I think that experience suggests that the credibility of the message would be enhanced if it was depoliticized. Now they've established a task force chaired by Professor Gordon Shirley.
Are you part of it?
No, we were not invited to.
What kind of arms that nonsense is that, sir?
I know. I have complained about it.
You can't talk about something national except to include major institutions, of which the opposition is one, the PNP.
Yeah, they should have invited us to participate, or at least nominate a member,
sure.
But they haven't. But in any event, the composition of the task force has some very experienced and competent people on it. And I think they need to step up now and really own the vaccination program. And I think that would help. And then in the churches, messengers like yourself and other church leaders across the island, and the medical profession as well, I think, need to step up in terms of the messaging. And hopefully some of the hesitancy, which is so pervasive, but is not... It's not something that cannot be overcome, because you may have experienced this too, I don't know, but I have experienced on more than one occasion persons who are extremely hesitant, and when you talk to them and you share information with them, they do come around,
Do you support, does the party support the dispensing of the vaccine by all medical practitioners or under certain conditions at all health centers? Would that
Absolutely.
help?
We have been calling for broadening the distribution of the vaccine. It doesn't work. This is another reason why the vaccination levels have been so low. The attempt has been to do it through centralized centers in major capitals. And the truth is that people just can't afford and are not inclined to pay to take transportation to go there and wait for long periods of time. Often in not particularly comfortable circumstances. Bring it to the people, Ronnie. Bring it to the communities so they can go and have it done in their community, the church halls, the schools, etc. I had a vaccination day in my constituency on the 9th of September. Over 500 people came and got vaccinated there. Let the doctors, they may have to have a fridge to maintain the cold chain and so on.
Sure. Let
the doctors do it. And they all have their patients in their private practices. Let them encourage their patients, trust them. And trust is a major factor in this.
Is there a role for political society, for political organizations? The People's National Party is divided into constituency divisions, groups, etc. How can... Many people don't think that's very or politics is very positive. Can it be in this situation?
I believe it can. The truth is that the two main political parties in Jamaica are two of the biggest organizations in the country in terms of adherence, along with some of the major churches. And we are in every nook and cranny across the country with an organization that is accustomed to carrying out tasks to support the political process. There is no reason why it cannot be leveraged and used to help with other major national efforts. And in fact, in my own constituency, when we did that vaccination day, our youth organization reps were courtesy officers. They weren't dressed in party colors. They were dressed in neutral colors. It wasn't a political day, but they are accustomed to doing that type of work. And the truth is, where we really need to focus right now in terms of vaccination is on the older population, the seniors, because we're only at 35% in that cohort. And that is the cohort that is particularly vulnerable, and where most of the persons who end up succumbing to COVID, they come from that, or those who have serious comorbidities. So we really need to get into the communities and encourage our seniors to get vaccinated and help them along. And I think that the political organization is accustomed to doing that kind of thing and can be useful.
The government's targets for vaccination over whatever period it is by the end of November, etc., are going to flop, Mark Golding.
They are.
Yes. The numbers are turning out to the events are low, much lower than anticipated.
I understand we're averaging about 2,000 a day, which if you look at the targets, it's going to be years before we get to, high percentages at that rate. So something has to be done. What is interesting though, Ronnie, is we've gone through a third wave, and the numbers have been improving. August was terrible, September was terrible, but it has been coming down. The positivity rate has been coming down. The numbers of persons dying is still very high, but has been coming down. The numbers in hospital have been coming down.
You're good, Mr. Golding. I don't trust those numbers.
Well,
you have to tell me who you are testing, why you're not testing more for those numbers of outcomes to be valid.
I agree that the testing is wholly inadequate and is irregular, but at the end of the day, the positivity rate says of those tested, how many were positive. And
I would like to know how much of that positivity rate is calculated in the private testing institutions versus the public, because things don't right all the while there.
That is true.
Yes.
And I don't think that the testing numbers are particularly significant, but when you look at the hospitalization levels and the deaths, that tells you something. Right. And what it tells me is that despite the low levels of vaccination, if those numbers are slowly coming down, and we are now apparently below, there was a graph shown in Parliament yesterday which showed the trajectory of patients in available beds for COVID, and it was way higher than the line of availability, and it has come and dipped below that now. So I suggest that it suggests to me that there's something happening in the wider population. Immunity is building up. But many people have caught the disease. Some have been ill. Some have been asymptomatic. And I mean, the thing has been rampant in the Delta variant is here, and so there is some amount of natural immunity taking place, and it is resulting in those numbers coming down. But unless we get the vaccination up, we're going to have serious challenges, because first of all, the elderly population with the low levels of vaccination there will result in ongoing sadness and death in the country. And there are some industries which require high levels of vaccination among staff.
So before we get to the schools then, tell me, try and persuade me not to disagree with you, that there should be a vaccine mandate.
I think that there should be a process, Ronnie, a process which is respectful and engaging at the workplace. I'm not against the idea of ultimately saying to an employee who is in a position in an enterprise where if they are not vaccinated, it significantly enhances the risk to themselves and their co-workers and customers. And you talk to them, you hear what their concerns are, you try and work through that, and ultimately hope that they will be vaccinated. Firms that have been doing that have had very good results. I know, for example, Jake's Hotel in Treasure Beach, over 100 employees, 100% vaccinated. And Jason Hensel was sharing with me, he put a lot of effort in engagement and sharing information, brought in specialists, medical specialists, to speak to the staff, answer their questions, and at the end of the day, all but 5 were willing to be vaccinated. And those 5 understood that that business needs the staff to be vaccinated because the guests expect it. Now, another firm that I'm familiar with has introduced an incentive, a care package, much of their staff are inner city workers, persons who, feeling the pinch of the high spike in the cost of living, wages have not kept up. And so offering them an incentive is much better than saying to them, boy, if it's take it or leave it, get vaccinated now or you're out the door. I don't like that hard line approach in the workplace, because I think there should be respectful consultation, which is what the employer groups, the PSOJ and JMEA and so on, and the unions, the Joint Confederation of Trade Unions, have come together and come up with a protocol around it. And yes, it is possible at the end of the day that somebody may have to be separated if they refuse to be vaccinated and if the circumstances warrant it.